And we are live. Welcome to the game room. It is me, Jonathan from modernlifedating.com, and I'm here with my co-host, Paul from Apex Mindset. And we're here to introduce you to a new show. That's right. It is a new show that is going to be here every single Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, featuring yours truly and Paul from me. Paul, if you want to say hi to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Very excited to do this with you guys.
Paul and I have been talking about doing this show for over a year, and our schedules just didn't line up, and we were just trying to do a bunch of different things. But what we're going to be doing is on this show, The Game Room, all right, on episode 1, where we're going to talk about what is game. This show is a new show that is only going to be talking about how to get the girl, how to keep the girl, and how to maintain the relationship with her at whatever stage you're at. Because Paul and I have believed that a lot of this men's self-improvement corner that we're in has kind of, some are doing geopolitics, other people are blaming certain religious organizations for everything. Whatever is going on out there, we don't know. All we want to talk about is what works with girls, what doesn't work. And today's episode 1, we're going to talk about what is game, the nebulous term.
Is game. Okay. Well, let me chime in on this. Yeah. So game, the origin of the word, because I wasn't sure myself. I know where I heard it a long time ago when I was a kid. And I had a very diverse friend group. Was, oftentimes the minority, white guy with a bunch of my black friends, and they talked about game, right? And so, as it turns out, the word kind of comes back all the way back to like pimp culture, going back a long time, right? So they just called it game. Game is your ability to sort of get women to do the things that you want, right? That was a broad definition, and it was a term in the black community that kind of got accepted everywhere. But it really does nod a bit to game theory. So this is interesting. So game theory is the study of how people make decisions when outcomes are based on what other people do. So thinking like strategizing for a game like chess, or even cards or Uno or something like that. So it's game theory. It's like we are, my outcomes are dependent on what this other person does. And with that, you have to understand, like, what does the other person want? What's the other person's needs? What's their motivations? They're not always clear when we talk about women, especially. They're not always clear what their own motivations are. I mean, largely people are doing things and they don't know why they do them all the time, especially when it comes to mating psychology, because a lot of that stuff is driven by instincts, right? So we're kind of like all these, we're like big dumb gorillas or chimpanzees running around with this little part of our human brain talking and communicating and directing our behavior, but the behavior is really being driven by these instincts. And a lot of times women are unaware of what those instincts are. So understanding the instincts, understanding the motivations of the other person, what's important to them, what kind of decisions they're going to make, and then being able to pick up on all those cues, social cues, everything from sub communication, like their body language and tonality and things that they're saying or not saying, down to what they're actually communicating, and then being able to use those motivations to your advantage to get what you want. You see, that's what game is there. So it's interesting. It kind of does nod to game theory, which is, where our outcomes are dependent on what the girl's going to do, and we have to persuade or lead or steer what those decisions that she's going to make are going to be. You know what I mean? And so how do we do that effectively? And there's so many different ways. There's so many different things. Could be like the right opener, the right thing to say. It could be your presentation, right? Your sexual market value that offers some form of value to the girl, right? It could be things down to logistics. An interesting thing, a guy in my coaching had mentioned he'd been coaching with you too, because we sometimes get people to coach with both of us, right? And you did a pretty good thing in one of your coaching programs where you had guys show their place that they were living at,
Right.
like, right? And I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty good. That's pretty genius because, like, okay, you're going to take a girl back to your house, or you're going to, well, where are you taking them back to? Are you taking them back to a pigsty? Are you taking them back to, like, something that smells like dirty laundry for 3 weeks, or,
Yeah.
a bunch of trash everywhere? Like, what's going on here? Right. And so, like, these things all play into your game. It's not, it's what you say, what you look like, your logistics, the place to land, where you're going in life, your avatar, like all of these things play a role into steering the motivations of the other person to get what she wants. So this will be a fun show. This will be pretty good.
What,
I think
like,
guys will get a lot of value.
I think so too, because ultimately, I mean, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you go about and you're just doing your daily YouTube browsing and stuff,
Mhm.
how often do you just look at something and you're like, God, this is just such terrible advice?
All
This
the
is
time.
all me too.
All the
Same
time.
way, me too. You know?
Yeah.
Every like I don't even understand how the human species has got this far. Like
We're very stupid as a species.
when I look at this, dude, when I look at the results too, it's just like, man, like honestly, like I think about my journey and like how figuring all this stuff out was such a long journey for me because I was just trying to figure it all out. And like it's
Mhm.
just like if you're a guy trying to figure this stuff out, it is really some nebulous shit, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it can be for sure. Well, and it's just guys don't know necessarily, and they don't know what they don't know. But then we have the whole thing about internet branding and people trying to build a brand for themselves, right? So, like, now we have, and then places like YouTube, and now we have AI and stuff too. And it's like people are just parroting what the other person says. And so that's why it's such bad advice. They're just like, so many content creators or whatever, like, oh, I got to do a video tomorrow. So I'm going to, they search or AI now and get other people's content, get other people's ideas, and they just regurgitate it in a different way. Well, what if the idea is incomplete, or what if it's not good, or what if it's out of date, right? And that's what we run into. The other thing you run into too is some of your most popular creators around this stuff are clueless because most guys are clueless, right? So guys are going to listen to what resonates with them. And if they don't know anything, or if they're like lacking knowledge, then what's going to sound good to them or sound right to them is somebody that sounds more like them, right? So then you end up with this bad advice and people going, yeah, that sounds great. It's like, no, no, it's not fucking great. It's terrible. And your results are bad. And it sounds great to you because you don't know what great looks like. You know what I mean? Like, they
Mhm.
don't know what right looks like. They don't know how good things can be. That's a big one. It's not knowing how good things can be. I'll hear
Right.
about guys like experiences dating and relationships, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, that's, dude, you'd realize it can be a lot better than that, right? Like, that sounds terrible, you know, but that's their world. They don't know any better because that's what they've experienced, and they haven't really learned how to take it to another level. And so what resonates with them is going to be some guy that also doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? A lot of times, because a lot of people, most people are in an echo chamber just doing what feels right to them, but they're not challenging what their beliefs or ideas or strategies are. And so I challenge people, like, you need to, especially with this stuff where there's a lot of ego investment. If somebody's challenging you, if you're listening to somebody and you're going, "Ooh, that sounds fucking different or weird," then maybe that I would be uncomfortable doing that. Maybe that's probably the guy you need to listen to. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Because that's, and a great example. I got a couple of clients right now who are in the dating market. Their biggest challenges are playing it safe all the time. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
guys with SMV. They do well. in life. You know what I mean? They have good jobs, they got stuff going for them, but they play it safe so often with girls. They don't know how to be playful and have that little bit of an edge and be
Yeah.
seductive. You know what I mean? They're struggle to take it
They
there.
they're not playing to win, they're playing not to lose.
Yes, that's a great way. Exactly. And so
Yeah.
that's it. And you can't play not to lose. You have to be good with a little bit of failure to learn. You know what I mean? Because short-term failure is just a learning experience. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, you know. And so yeah, that's the thing. And so yeah, if because I mean, man, like I think you said this a long time ago. Like if you're listening to a guy who's like like a men's coach or a dating coach, and you know, he looks like you know he'd get his ass kicked in any fight. Probably don't fucking listen to that guy. Like you were saying at some point, it was funny the way you said
Yeah.
it, but it's like kind of true, right? It's like, you know, the nerd. There's so many. God, there's so many people. A couple of people I can think of. They're just fucking nerds, man. Like, and I'm not trying to be mean, but come on, dude. Like, they're nerds, and they're not. They were nerds before, and now they're on the internet, and they're nerds now. And they could not be nerds. They could do something different, but they're more. They've retreated into this identity in this safe space for them, and they're trying to, you know, they like the feeling of being able to tell people what to do in this area and feeling competent, I guess you could say, in dating, because they're not really competent. So they like
Right.
getting on the internet and feeling competent about it, but they're
Right.
not. And you know too, you've we talked about some of these guys that we know for a fact do terrible with women and have tons of fucking followers, you know, and we're just like, wow, you know. And I'm not going to make it my brand to talk shit about people, like, because I have something good to offer, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like challenge yourself, man. If you're like listening to this, if you
Yeah.
see if these guys are popping up in your feed and they're fucking nerds and they, you know, they just don't seem like, if they seem like they're dorks, they're probably dorks, right? Like, you know, I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to say it, you know, but
Yeah, no, it's
it's
spot
like,
on.
yeah.
You know, what I've been, because I've been, this is my 11th year with my brand now. I've been doing modern life dating for 11 years. And what I've been trying to figure out is like, I've been trying to put down like an SOP, like standard operating procedure for like getting getting the girl that you want, maintaining it and keeping it over the long period of time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That is really something that's important for, I
Yeah.
think, majority of guys. Because for me, I don't care the context. If I see a guy and he's in a relationship with a woman and she's bossing him around, I was like, okay, this guy don't have game. Like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like immediately like this isn't good. Cuz I mean, it's your relationship outcomes have to be good once you're in the relationship too. It's not just getting the girl. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's
Yes.
like, because and that's the whole danger of transactional relationships. Transactional relationships will always fail for a guy, always, every single time. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what value the guy has because of hypergamy and because of human psychology. It's like you could have a dude with a fucking, you know, super vibrating bionic dick, right? That just makes girls orgasm every fucking 2 seconds. And he's
Mhm.
like super Chad, 6'4" with billions of dollars. As soon as he gives a level of commitment to a particular girl, in short order, she thinks she's right about his level. It's just how she thinks. Why wouldn't she? He's giving his commitment, time, energy, and love to her. So it
Mm.
immediately makes her feel I'm at that value. So if it's transactional and she's only looking at a checklist, she goes, "Well, I'm already at this value. Maybe I could get the next guy who has $2 billion." You see what I
Mm.
mean? You know, it's like it never becomes enough. It has
Yeah.
to be an emotional connection and,
Yeah.
and an emotional buy-in where she feels her identity rolled up in the guy in the relationship. She feels that, you know, she feels pain at the idea of not being with that guy because there's a neurochemical bond That's what you have to create. That takes it past transactional into what we would say a desire-based relationship. And so you have to be able to create that from dating over time into your relationship. And
Yes.
that's a big part of it, or else you're just not going to have any success. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah. I was just thinking like everything that's been going on lately, right? Because we're both Americans, we're both in America, right?
yeah,
And how old are you now, Paul?
I'm an old ass man. I'm 48.
48's not old,
48.
bro. You're
48,
you're
dude.
you're a G, bro.
I know.
But
I'm not mad about it.
looking back on everything, right? You know, do you think America is the one of the like
Yes.
worst game knowledge
Yes.
societies possible? Like because it just seems to me that out of all places in the world, American men are like exceptionally lost.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is an interesting thing that's happened over time with generations. We used to be the most game aware, like when I was young. And I would know about people who would travel, like we're talking 90s, early 2000s.
Mhm,
Because I think it's just feminism has made things increasingly more difficult for men, right? And feminism was, I mean, I would say being led in the United States, right? Now, there's a lot of other westernized nations, we can take England, Australia, places like that that are also indoctrinated in feminism, Germany especially, right? But we led the charge with feminism. It seems like, I mean, all of the waves of feminism and all the crap going on is all happening in the United States. And I say this because, okay, from I think King Dre said this, but feminism hit the black community hard and first, right?
yeah,
In the 50s and 60s, which
right.
made women more difficult to deal with, which is why black guys had game, because they would watch their dads, their uncles have game dealing with these difficult women. You had to have good game in order to
Mhm,
deal with difficult feminist women, right? Well,
mhm,
then all the races, everybody caught on. And for a while, guys had an edge. Like in the 90s, early 2000s, dudes from the United States had an edge with game because American women were so difficult. But then internet porn happened, right? See, back in the 90s, I couldn't just, as a 10, 11, 12-year old, press a button and have access to any porn I could imagine, right? Like that's a crazy idea. And that's what you got in the early 2000s. And that's what these young guys are now dealing with. So, with an easy dopamine reward of pornography, they stopped learning how to deal with difficult women and retreated to the internet and technology to get off, basically, right? And they
mhm.
grew up that way and got into their teens, 20s, whatever. And I'm sorry, I'm lacking. Nuclear's funny guy. Internet porn didn't change anything. That's what Ryan Stone says. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, that made me laugh. That's obviously not true, right? But so guys retreated to this, and now they have a very easy outlet. Like guys, you run into the biggest problem right now with men is apathy. And so you have a situation now where women are extremely difficult in the United States, and guys have been apathetic since children because they have technology to escape to. So there's no development of skill. And now it's like, I don't even, a lot of these guys are like, I don't even know where to start developing skill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to approach a girl and say hello and then have her be a bitch to me. Like, yeah, that's what you have to do. Cause in the United States, it's going to happen like probably 50% of the time,
Mhm.
maybe 75% of the time. But even the girls who are a bitch to you, a lot of them will sleep with you anyway. You just got to get through, their feminist bitch shield. That's just what the name of the game. And so the game is excessively hard because women are more and more insufferable, and guys have lost that skill. When I was younger, dudes had the skill. I learned from those guys. That's how I figured it out.
Mhm.
I started that process because guys are better than me. And I was like, God damn, this guy gets girls and he knows what to say. And even when a girl is like just a complete, street trash or trailer trash asshole to him, he fucking turns it around, man. Like, God dang, like, let me figure out what he's doing, right? And I would learn from these dudes because I didn't have an internet. Like, luckily, I didn't have the internet and free porn and all that to escape to. And
Right,
so,
right.
now, so that's I think a big part of the problem. Now, if you go to Europe and some of these other places, women are less difficult, and so guys have less of a bridge to cross to get them. And any guy would rather have a real girl than escaping to some internet situation. So
Yeah.
so I think overseas now, guys are actually developing more game because you know what I mean? It's not on such a hard level and that and the skill gap isn't so high. You know what I mean? At least that's my assessment. So
I was looking at everything here, and I'm trying to, because I've just come back from living in Asia, and I've been here in the States, and just trying to understand, like, how did we get to this point? How did we get here to the point that we are now at the highest point of sexlessness in the history of the country?
yeah, really. It's
These
so great.
typically doesn't reverse, is what I'm trying to say too. You know what I mean? So guys clearly have lost the ability to seduce and lead and guide women. I think also the feminist movement, the emasculation of men on very pretty much every avenue, video games, music, TV, internet, you know what I mean? All of that stuff is really so important to, like, not tear down men, but that's what it does exclusively in the United States. Other countries, it's not like this. Like, there's not like
Right.
man is like hating men is like American pastime at this point. You know what
It
I
is.
mean?
Oh yeah,
And
it really is.
then they're so like they're doing all these different things in movies and stuff. And it's like it's just
Dude.
like I think because I watch a lot of international films and then watch movies and stuff. And
Mhm.
even in these ones, like, there's no, like, only in America is there such, like, blatant, in your face disrespect, but people who live in America, they don't realize it. They
No,
don't
they think it's normal.
they
Yeah.
think like, "Oh, that's just a dad getting shit on by the mom, and she's rolling her eyes because she has her shit together, and he's just the idiot who's,
Mhm.
in the way, can't get it together." And
Right.
that stuff really, like I said, messes with the minds of men, especially when it's, like, presented as the norm. And,
Right.
you know
Oh, yeah. Well, what's gonna turn it around, we talked a little bit about this earlier, is
Mhm.
women are increasingly more and more dissatisfied.
Right.
And so the unfortunate thing is 80% of guys,
Are
any
they
way
ever
we cut it.
satisfied? Are they ever satisfied, Paul?
No, no, they're not. But I mean, when they get when they're dissatisfied with the lack of options, because you're seeing it now. Now
Yeah.
women are like on the internet, like, where's the all the good men? Like, why want to mask? Now there's movements to try to make guys more masculine and movements to want, women retreating to Christianity and hoping that the Christian man is going to be a little bit more masculine and step up than their average guy. When unfortunately, feminism's in. I did a video on that today, actually, a very good video on the
Mhm.
conspiracies going on in the Christian world. You guys want to check that out after our stream, man. It's I took a different angle than what I normally take, but it's crazy the amount of corruption going on, like even in the churches today. But women are basically starving and screaming for a guy that tickles their attraction areas of their brain, because they can't find it because men have been basically, you know, turned into these submissive creatures who've escaped the marketplace and ran to the internet. Like, I mean, men have been squashed for so long. Now there's a shortage now of guys that these girls want to even get with. And so what'll end up happening is some sort of resurgence at some point. At some point. It depends. We'll see how bad it has to get.
how does resurgence happen? Because one thing that I've been looking at, like the bottlenecks of everything, right? So,
Right.
um, a woman can't make a man,
No,
right?
of course
Only a man can make a man,
not.
right? There's a bunch of women barking our orders at a bunch of men at boot camp and army. They'd be like, "Shut up, bitch!" Like straight
Right,
up,
exactly.
it'd be like, "Shut up, bitch!" Like, what are you gonna do? Um, but like, it only takes a man to like awaken that hidden masculinity in every man. But my question is, if all the guys are becoming pussies, everybody's getting, limp wrist, then where is the awakening X factor? Where is that going to come from?
Right. Well, luckily we're global, right? So
Mm.
the good news is we got a global marketplace now. So, if in one location everyone's a pussy and a guy gets on the internet, I mean, this is why masculine, like at least people LARPing masculinity in the manosphere became popular. That's why it became popular because guys had no masculine role models. And so then they found them on the internet. They found them in the global marketplace. And so the only problem with that is a lot of those guys are grifters, right? So,
Right.
like, what could happen is that guys are getting role models and stuff at more of a mainstream level. The manosphere too and all that is still not mainstream, right? That's a fringe element that's considered more or less threatening and again filled with grifters. So if it becomes something mainstream to be able to mentor guys into being actual guys and guys finally telling insufferable women to shut the fuck up, right? Then we start doing that in mass, it flips over very, very quickly. Like we're only in this position because we allow ourselves to be here.
I
As soon
think
as guys,
we're kind of getting to the shut the fuck up stage. A lot of
we are
guys,
getting
we're already
right.
a lot of guys are at that stage online already.
100%. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I used to see a lot more supplication. Now you have a lot of guys
Dude,
like as soon as like they have like no, they've gone the other ways in some cases. Now, of course, we'll see it more when it's not anon accounts on X and when it's people with real platforms or real accounts that are finally like, hey, you know what? These bitches can shut the fuck up and sit down, like
we
whatever.
I feel like I think we're edging our ways towards that already. But like, what do you? Hmm. Because another thing that I've been researching, right? When people don't have game, when men are not having sex with women in society, society starts to destabilize.
Mhm.
Society starts to get to the point where it gets more violent. I think you talk about this, like polyamorous societies are way more violent. And then this feast or famine thing that's happening right now is not. I don't think like the long term sustainable. It doesn't seem to be sustainable.
No, the where we're at now is not sustainable. Absolutely not. It's just, and I'm not a big my thing is like I'm looking at it from a problem solution standpoint. So a guy comes to me, it doesn't really do like from a coaching standpoint, it doesn't really do me any good to be like, the sexual marketplace is fucked and where's the world going? Instead, it's like, okay, what's your situation? What town do you live in? Where are
Yeah,
all the bitches? What do
yeah,
you got to do to meet them? Right.
yeah.
It's simply problem solution. Whenever I take that process, and I've always done that with myself, guys start sourcing women and they start getting girls. It's just only a matter of time. It's not, sometimes it takes, depending on where they live and what's going on and their own SMV, sometimes it might take them considerably longer, a little bit more effort than it would have 5 years ago. But that doesn't mean that it's like, oh, hopeless and the guy needs to, you know what I mean, just be an incel. It never is that way. You know what I mean? As long as the guy is taking steps, eventually he turns that corner and he's got access to women and access to decent enough women where if he wants a relationship, he can do that. Like he's got things going for him. And right now, for guys who can turn that corner, it's like it is feast or famine. It's like fucking drinking from a fire hose. I can remember when I was single, like a few years ago, and it was like I was holding off to process my breakup and to do stuff. I was like, because I knew I called it flipping on the light switch. I knew as soon as I flipped on that light switch, I was going to have a flood of fucking women, and it was going to be who I have to next a whole bunch of girls. I have to push women away from me and start selecting the better ones. And sure as shit, I mean, that was exactly what happened. You know what I mean? And then I ended up with my girlfriend. If people follow me on Instagram, she's very hot, right? 20 years younger than me. I mean, it's whatever, right? And it's not like she's never had a problem in her life or anything like that. She's a girl in her 20s. Of course she has problems, but game, frame, and her own, abilities too. She does have a lot of good things about her that made her fight through her problems. And we're still together now, 3.5 years later. Now, if those problems were too much, she'd be gone. And it would have been flipping a light switch on again, and it would have been a flood of fucking women. And the second I can't do that here in probably a mid-level hard place to do it, which is Michigan. I'd say Michigan's about mid-level hard. I think the
Mhm.
hardest places or most difficult women to deal with, or the most divisive, is probably like Los Angeles, New York, Miami. It's probably, you have a lot of numbers, but a very, very divisive market, right? A lot of fucking really shitty people there. You know what I mean? But you got numbers there. So that's the other side of it. But I mean, okay, if for some reason, and I'm here in Michigan because of family, right? But if for
Mhm.
some reason, like, I can't flip that switch on and it's not the same sort of a flood within at least a reasonable amount of time, okay, I'm going to geomax. I'm going to go someplace else. I don't need to be here, right? Like, I can go someplace else and get better women. So because game isn't the problem for me. Now, for a guy where game is the problem, I don't recommend he geomaxes, because then he's just going to get finessed way harder. And
Right.
somewhere like Colombia or whatever, he's got to learn the skills, because women are women. But if a guy has good enough skills and his hometown sucks, right? Then go to another place. You know what I mean? Start broadening your horizons, start figuring it out. Luckily, we are in a global sexual marketplace, so guys can do that and it can be happy. You've trained guys how to do that and help guys with that, and they're very successful, and they're living life on their own terms, and they're doing much better than a lot of people who are remaining stuck. The key is, I think, is to not remain stuck. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You make moves, you do what you're going to do, and if it's not, if the moves you're making, if the juice is not worth the squeeze, you got to change your environment. You got to change where you're sourcing. You got to look for the you keep moving, you keep changing, you keep adjusting until you start nailing down what works. There's always going to be pretty women out there. There's always going to be pretty women wanting to have sex with guys, and it's all emotional first, primarily. So even the biggest gold digger in the world, you tap into her emotions, she's having sex with you. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying you should try to wife up the biggest gold digger in the world, but it's
No, no,
not
no.
it's not these uncontrollable things like I'm not 6'3" or I don't have enough money yet to get a girl. Like all those things don't really matter as much, because for the one girl who your height mattered for, there's another girl around the corner who's just as pretty, who doesn't give a shit about that. You know what I mean? So just the way it is, you have to just learn how to keep changing what you're doing and altering your strategy until it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a little bit of A/B testing too. And like, dude, honestly, too, like, man, let me ask you, let me throw this back to you, Paul. You and I both know that in regards to the ability that we have we know how to find a woman who is genuinely interested in us, genuinely attracted to us, genuinely wants to be just with us, right? And
Mm,
we know that, you know, how can I put this? We know if a woman's genuine desires for us is real or not.
yep. Hmm.
We
Well, we
have
know that because of experience,
right.
because
So
we,
my question to you was, we know to determine whether a woman is genuinely into us or not, what percentage of men on the planet actually have this ability, would you say?
oh God. Oh, wow.
These are the questions that matter.
Yeah, they are a really low percentage. I mean, we're talking probably less than 5%. I mean, certainly I would say 20% of guys in any given area are getting the girls, but I would say the majority of those guys getting the girls aren't fully aware of a lot of the reasons they're getting them, or how or why. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think there's probably, about 5% of the dudes who maybe really get it and really understand what's going on. And sometimes those are like your top dudes, but a lot of times those are not your top dudes. You run
Mhm.
into a problem, an SMV problem, which
Mhm.
I've had to coach some guys through over the years. I've gotten guys who were more or less low level celebrities. I'll say like B listers in a way.
Mhm.
Guys, a couple of them I had recognized, like, oh shit, like I actually know who this guy is. And they've come to me, for coaching, like one on one, paying the bigger bucks to do it. Didn't want to be a part of a group. Confidentiality was key for them. And the problem they ran into was being able to figure out genuine desire, and being able to figure out, like, how do I select the right girl? Because I have this status and I can kind of get any girl, but then these relationships blow up in my face because I keep picking up the wrong girl. And so they at first, when a guy has, let's say, really good looks or good looks plus status, like, he's getting it, any girl. You can get pretty girls, so he thinks his game is good. He's like, man, I'm good with women because I'm getting them. No, you're just really good looking and have money. Like, that doesn't mean that you're fucking good with girls. You know what I mean? Because again, as soon as that girl gets
Yeah.
that guy's love, what happens? She's at his level in her mind. And so now all the problems start. And this is how you see these guys with these celebrities who have everything going for them, and then they got a disrespectful wife. Or they got, they got wife leaving them for a fucking personal trainer or a jujitsu player or whatever happened with that fucking quarterback, right? Stuff like that. Like, you see these things happening because as soon as the girl gets the commitment and that guy's investment, her hypergamous brain goes, oh, I'm just where he is. My value is here now. And so, you have to have good game and be able to recognize signs of genuine desire and build that in her. You know what I mean? And just having high SMV or good looks or money isn't going to be enough, because your relationships will fail. And and I know, because we've had guys who've had high SMV with really good financials end up in coaching because they got fucking divorce raped, or they got, you know what I mean, fleeced by some woman. It happens all the time, and they're like, man, I thought I had everything. And this girl is just, you know, turning me over. And then, of course, those guys, because they're human beings, they have emotional investments in the girl. So they love the girl, and the girl is just like raking him through, and she just doesn't have the desire for him anymore. And
Mhm.
it's his lack of relationship management in game in the relationship that caused it to fail. And he doesn't understand, because he's like, I'm so and so, and I have, a few mil, and I'm decent, I'm good looking, why is this happening to me? Because as soon as you give her your love and energy and commitment, she thinks she's at your level. That's
Mhm.
why it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So you have to have the game skills to inspire desire, not just in the beginning, but throughout the relationship. And part of that is recognizing genuine desire from the beginning, so you have something to build off of. You know what I mean? Girls are really good at making a guy feel like he's $1 million when they want him. But does she want him because he has a boat and a nice house, or good, right? Or he's a good looking dude, or because, makes her look good in front of her friends? Like, what's
Yep.
the reason she wants him? That's the game strategy. Part of that's figuring that out. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, man. No, that's exactly what I'm trying to create, guys, like a deciphering tool or something, because the reason why all the dating in America currently sucks right now is because the men are doing what you said. They're leading with wallets, they're leading with everything other than genuine desire. The woman, I think, doesn't even realize to a degree if she likes him for him or the shit
No.
she's getting as well.
Yeah, it's all mixes in, right? I mean, she doesn't necessarily know. She's going based on her feelings, but and then they get confused and they're just not aware. Like there's been plenty of times that a girl is Niagara Falls down there for a guy who's got fucking nothing going for him, and then she's mad at herself. Why do I want to bang this guy? And then she's like, this guy is a good guy and he has all of these things I want. Why don't I feel this way about him? Like they're super confused about it. They don't get it. But when we get it as guys, we can create it. That's the thing. And so, like, you're that higher value guy. You got to understand that girl might not be Niagara Falls for you. She was head over heels with some fucking drunk guy in college or some guy with a criminal record or who knows, right? Because that guy hit her attraction triggers differently than maybe the higher value guy is. So that higher value guy needs to understand, how can I hit these triggers? How can I recognize what they are, first of all? And then how can I start, stimulating those? Right. And that's what game is about. It's about learning what the motivation is of the other person, because we rely on her decisions in order to get what we want, not just our own. So what is her motivations? Not the ones she's aware of and the ones she's not aware of. And then how can I stimulate those?
When I was dating a
yeah.
girl, I found she was telling me, she's taking birth control. I was like, not anymore. Not anymore. We're going to find out if you like me or not.
That's very good. Well, yeah. And that's a crazy thing. When that data came out years ago, it's like, holy shit. Like, cause everybody was on birth control. Right. But then you're like,
now they came out carcinogen. You know that they recently said that it's a carcinogen.
Yeah. Right. Right. Oh yeah. Feminism. There you go. Feminism. You got cancer now.
Men again. He's tricked by men again. I see. Looks
right.
Like, like the patriarchy is once again holding that big L in your face. There is. I wanted to, let me see. I want to pull that up because I was checking that. I think it was the World Health Organization.
Oh yeah. No, I remember vaguely. Which it's like it's a real thing.
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
The World Health Organization. I have it right here. The World Health Organization. They have now said that combined estrogen, proestrogen, oral contraceptives have now been classified as group 1 carcinogens by the World Health Organization. And that's
there it is. Well, and when you understand, like later on in my sort of development, studying neuroscience and stuff, you start to understand like, oh, this is very neurochemical. So naturally, if you're messing with a girl's hormones, or if you're, through birth control, it's going to change her neurochemical reaction. Which is what, attraction is based off of. Right. So like when you learn about that stuff, you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? That's not necessarily a good thing. Like there's lots of cases of girls being on birth control. They get off of birth control and then they don't like their guy anymore. They don't even like the smell of them. She's supposed to get pregnant with them, and it's that sort of thing. So
I saw that study with I saw that study with what do you call it? With it was on Joe Rogan. And it was when the Sex by Dawn guy, Chris, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that?
I've seen him in interviews and read his book, but I don't know if I saw that episode, but or not. I don't know.
Basically they had a study, and actually here, let me see if I can pull. This might be it, but it was this. It was this right here. Let me see. It was this clip here. Who is this guy? Is this the guy from Sex by Dawn?
Looks like him.
Let me see.
What's his name?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, a little bit. No, it's not optimized for.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
Yeah.
Uh, why is this playing through there?
So he gets these guys to work.
Is that hard for you to hear?
Yeah, it's a little echoey. I think it's coming through your mic and not. I think you have to optimize when you share. You got to optimize for audio.
Yeah.
There's a thing to do
Let
that.
me take this.
While you're doing that, I'll answer this guy's question. He says, "Is there a tipping point where genuine desire is subtly lost, like when it's there and it's gradually gone?" So, that's a good question to ask. I want to just answer that real quick while you're playing with
Yeah.
the clip. Yeah. So again, attraction and desire, it's a neurochemical response. And when I started studying this, it's crazy how it's not more of a just more of a conversation, right? I don't know why, but it just isn't. And I think it's because when you start studying this, you realize that men and women are in fact fundamentally different. And for a long time saying that men and women were different and that gender was more than just a social construct, but that it was actually biological, that's like
Right.
became a controversial thing, right? So we don't hear a lot about this, but the reality is when it comes to bonding and desire, attraction, and bonding, there's different neurochemical responses. So we got oxytocin for a woman that makes her feel that that bond to that partner. Then there's the dopamine and good stress, norepinephrine and stuff in the beginning when she's getting the guy. So the dopamine and that norepinephrine, good, like that good excitement kind of anxiety, that's what she's feeling when she's in anticipation. She has sex with the guy, she gets a flood of neurochemicals and oxytocin through an orgasm, makes her feel amazing, makes her feel good. And then over time, when she becomes comfortable with a guy, it's beta endorphin. That's beta endorphins, like when you have your favorite couch, you know what I mean? Or your lucky watch or something, right? You just feel good. This is my lounge chair. I love being in it. There's that's the comfort stuff is beta endorphin. So that's what a girl bonds with. For guys, we have all those same things, but we have vasopressin that plays a major role because testosterone interacts with vasopressin and it makes us feel protective over the person we're bonded with. And so oxytocin is a very short-lived neurochemical though. So like in the beginning of a relationship, you can actually predict, there was a study that can predict that when the blood levels of oxytocin are higher, they could predict that the couple would still be together in 6 months. But if the blood levels of oxytocin were lower, then they could predict a breakup. You know what I mean? So there's that study that was done. But after like a period of that honeymoon period's over with, when the novelty wears off and that good stress is no longer there by itself, oxytocin starts getting stimulated less and less. And then eventually that oxytocin comes back to a baseline as if she was single. And now she's bored in the relationship. And all she has at that point is beta endorphin, which is comfort. You know what I mean? Now, for us guys, we have vasopressin. So we're constantly, and vasopressin's more sustainable as long as we're taking care of her in some way, taking care of her needs, which is whether it's sexual, emotional, whatever, we're stimulated to be bonded. She loses that stimulation to be bonded in an exciting sexual sort of way when the oxytocin comes down, which is why sex starts off high and then becomes less and less in most relationships. And then in a lot of relationships, they become sexless. She doesn't have the oxytocin to inspire her to want to have sex anymore with the guy. Now, your job as a guy is to not let that happen. If you let the girl be the leader of the bedroom, and if you let her emotions dictate when and how and if you guys have sex, and if you basically let her be the boss because you have no frame,
Yeah.
then what's
Yes.
going to happen is the oxytocin will naturally come down. She will lose attraction.
Yep.
And then that's going to be it. She's either going to be comfortable with you as a housemate, or she's going to get bored enough with you to break up If it's a marriage and she's older, she'll reach a few milestones, like have a couple kids, and then go, oh, I just don't love him anymore. And then she'll break up. But it
Yep.
doesn't have to be that way. You
Yep.
have to stimulate oxytocin. You do it through sex, you do it through excitement, you do it through doing things actively to continue to court her and not letting her get complacent. You know what I mean? And that means you're not rewarding her, and you're pulling, and you're giving a little bit of negative reinforcement if she starts to get bored with you, right? Oh, you're bored with me? Well, you don't get all the comfort, and you don't get the comfort and protection that I provide if you're going to act like you're bored with me, right? And so then that stimulates her to want to try hard more in the relationship, and then you stimulate that oxytocin, stimulating some good stress every now and then. You know what I mean? As long as you continue to stimulate that, which you can do for decades, your relationship's going to be fine. Game is learning how to do that. Relationship game is learning how to create that those oxytocin spikes throughout the relationship so she sustains desire. If you just leave it to her own devices, she'll lose it, because naturally, as human beings, I don't know if guys understand, we're not designed to like live till we're 90 from an evolutionary perspective and be with the same woman the whole time. We're designed to probably die with tetanus or some disease when we're 30 years old. And
Right.
in the interim, we've mate switched several times. So now we
Right.
have genetic diversity, right? So women are designed to get bored with a guy by about year number 2, if we let it happen naturally, right? So
Mm.
we have, knowing that, what are you going to do? You're not going to just let that happen if you want a sustainable long-term relationship. And so that means you lead and you continue to do things to create that excitement, create that good stress, and create that sexual reward. Get her identity rolled up into the act of sex with you. What's nice is that sex is pretty much good if it's good. So even if she doesn't have the, you know, even if the oxytocin's coming down, once she has it, it stimulates it all over again when she's orgasming. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like it's something, just we just need to lead it. That's all. We just need to lead it there. And guys are
For
trained
me,
to not do that. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
and for me, the way I look at things too is that, like, when I see a guy being led by a woman in a relationship, I'm like, dude, it's ticking time bomb, ticking time. Because, the moment you start to become a predictable plaything to your chick, and like you playing house becomes routine, and, guys, like, so many guys are just so very bad with understanding female emotions and like managing
Yeah.
them within the relationship. Manage, because a lot of people don't realize is you're going to consistently have problems in your relationship no matter what. Like, I'm not saying you guys are violently fighting every week, but what I am saying is
Yeah.
there's going to be conflict. There's
Yeah.
going
In some
to
ways there should be conflict. I think I don't know where this came from, but I tend to not agree. I guess it depends on who's saying it, what they mean. But like there was this thing going around for a while that like, well, our relationship is good. There's no conflict. We never have any conflict. Blah 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 blah. A lot of content creators are doing that too, and I think it's just fucking coping,
lie.
or I think it's just their internet brand, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to be like, yeah, we got in this fight the other day or whatever. And I think that's misplaced advice, because if there's passion and if there's
Mm,
desire, there's
mm,
going to be conflict. And here's the
right.
thing, like when you require a lot from your woman, as you should, what happens is, and you stimulate dread because you're the hypergamous choice.
Yeah.
The analogy I have, it's like she's looking in a mirror and seeing, when she looks at the relationship, it's like looking in a mirror, but in that mirror, she sees every single flaw that she has and every single possibility that it might not work out because of all of these flaws, right? And it makes her fucking afraid, and it makes her stressed out a little bit. And she starts to, and she needs your comfort to tell her it's going to be okay, because she starts to really question herself. That's dread. And if you don't have good frame, and if you don't require what you should be requiring from your long-term girl, well, she won't have that dread, and that's not good. You know what I mean? And so that she should have that. she should have that, because you're, as a man, you're already trying to make yourself better every day, or you're not doing your job as a man, right? So like you're already doing that because you're a man in the world. Women don't just do that. You know what I mean? Women aren't just like, let me make myself better every day. Like they
They
start
don't.
off with, they don't, because they start off with maximum value as soon as they hit adulthood, right? Where we start off with like zero value as a guy, and we have to build ourselves up. So most girls, like, they don't have a habit built early of trying to like better themselves. They need either
Yeah.
competition with girlfriends or a male leader or some sort of motivation for them to do that. And if you're her man and you require greatness in your life, just your own life, you're not even necessarily telling her she's fucked up or anything. You require greatness in your own life. Then she's like, holy shit, I need to do some work to measure that up here. And it, you know what I mean, and it creates dread, and that dread creates excitement, and that and that excitement makes her want to continue having sex with you even years later. Like it's a good thing to do, but guys don't know how to do that. Guys are too busy trying to create so much comfort and stability that they miss desire. And there's got to be a balance. You want some comfort and stability, but not so much where she just thinks, fuck, this is boring and I'm better than him. What am I doing here? There's gotta be some element of concern
The
for her.
Yeah, the moment she has everything figured out, it's like just so bad for you. If she doesn't like you, because I feel like the higher her genuine burning desire level is for you, the more like she's just happy just to be with you.
Oh
She's just
yeah.
happy to be there.
Yep.
You know, is that,
100%.
let me ask you a quick question. Is that no matter the woman, do we start here at attraction with a man and then we are just inevitably trending downwards unless we do something? Or
Yeah, I would say so. What I mean, but like, so my girl finds me more attractive now than when we started, but
Mhm.
because I'm constantly doing shit. And I'm constantly trying to push myself to be better. I leave for military shit. Some news about Iran happens. She's like, fuck, is he going to deploy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause I'm still in, even though I'm National Guard, and I'm in the back seat now. I'm not in the driver's seat as an operator
Mhm.
anymore, but there's always the possibility. So like there's because I'm trying to improve my life, there's constant changes happening. And then, I'm doing things even with my appearance. Like, I'm gonna, I just got surgery because I had a abdominal hernia, and now I'm on a diet program cutting up. So, and she's like, damn, you're looking like really good, and stuff. And so like, it's like these things are just happening. There's always these changes, and it's always me bettering myself. And then I'm courting her and I'm doing stuff with her and I'm stimulating desire. I'm not letting sex go away because we have rules in a relationship about sex. You're not allowed to say no in my relationship. That's one rule. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as no. You can say I don't feel good, or I got this going on, or I just have I just had diarrhea or something, right? Or whatever. You can talk about what's going on with you, but there is no. There is no I don't feel like it. There is no, oh, one person's horny and the other person's going like all these other relationships. That's an absolutely fucking no. Like, she knows that if that were to be our relationship, that I would leave. I don't care how long we've been together, right?
Right.
I'm not going to be in some sexless, shitty relationship. It's not because I'm a crazy sex fiend or something. It's because I know that if I'm not stimulating oxytocin, it's the death of the relationship. And the way you
Right.
stimulate oxytocin is through a healthy sex life. And so I'm not allowed to lead my relationship into the fucking, disaster zone because I'm too afraid to set sexual boundaries. That's crazy, right? And
Yeah.
so, you have these things there
Really
so the
crazy.
girl doesn't lose it. You know what I mean? But it's when you're a guy who's complacent and allowing yourself to degrade over time, and you're not making changes in your life because you don't have an exciting life. Well, yeah, now she's going to fucking lose that desire. If you don't execute game, which is really simple, just doing different shit. You know what I mean? Like just doing stuff, having sex differently, fucking doing, just making changes, setting different goals, having whatever, like your life is interesting, then like things are fine. The guys who are used to getting complacent and not doing anything with their lives are the ones who are going to struggle with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And the
yeah.
guy, it seems like life punishes anybody who just tries to like, you want to just kick your feet up and relax. Like, I don't think that's what life is all about. A couple questions here. So Mr. T Wolf T20, TF20, $20
Yeah.
super chat. Does group dynamics play a small part in female satisfaction? Culture now is like girl leave than thinking the guy is a good choice. I think years in the past, family, friends would tell a girl, don't mess this up. Thoughts? Yeah, I think so too, because
Mhm.
that they actually, I did an episode on this with
Yeah.
AI. So the problem with AI now, when you ask anybody asking AI for relationship advice is retarded.
Yeah.
Don't
It's wrong
fucking
a
do
lot.
that.
Oh, retard alert.
Please don't ask a fucking algorithm what to do with your private parts. Okay.
Seriously.
Um,
So funny, dude.
don't put your robot. Don't put your private parts in the robot. Okay.
Yep.
But the majority of these LLM calls, right? These large language models, they're sourcing relationship advice from Reddit/r relationships, which more than 50% of the time now is leave the relationship, leave the relationship, leave the relationship. You know?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's well, and that's the popular narrative, because you got to remember, guys who are listening here, right? Women are in competition with each other, as well as, trying to get what they want. And part of how a girl knows if she's doing well in life has to do with the social input from others around her. And
Mhm.
so she's competing with her friends. This is why, like, for example, the fat girl ends up being like real bitchy and fucking mouthy, right? In a friend group. Why does she do that? She does that because she can't compete with looks. So she's going to try to compete in this way. And so
Yeah.
all these girls are trying. This is why you have these different archetypes. The one girl in the friend group is the slut. The one girl who's like the good girl, they're all taking those roles because they perceive that by taking on this role, they're beating their friends in the friend group. Because in mate selection, we were in tribes and women competed with each other for mating opportunities, right? And so, and if you can't beat a girl at her game, like you can't be the prettiest girl, well, you're going to find another way to compete or try to bring some other value into the picture, or find another way to degrade the girl who has something going on that's better than you. So this is why girls backstab each other a lot too. Okay, they got that instinct as well, right? So you got to remember, they're in this competition. Well, one way to sabotage girls who are having good relationship is to tell them that they could do better and to tell them to leave. Like, who's always saying that? The ones who are saying that are usually the single friends, right?
Yeah.
And
Because
so that's jab.
I didn't realize this until like I was like a little bit 30, I would say like around 38, 39 is like, because a lot of red pill people say that. A lot of red pill guys say like, just leave, just leave, just leave, just leave. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Mhm.
actually, the reality, the correct answer is you got to work through a lot of problems in a
Yeah.
relationship, especially as a man.
100%. And the just leave stuff is usually people, like, from the guy side of it, it's usually guys who don't have game. You know what I mean? Like the big common, like, the one-stop shop for a while for what to do when a girl's out of line is soft next her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, you'll hear that all the time. It's like, there's a lot of things you can do besides soft next, and you should do.
Yeah.
A lot of times the way guys soft next is terrible too. They don't know what they're doing.
And by the way, but when these guys walk away from these relationships in these positions when you probably shouldn't be walking away, all you're doing is stunting your growth because you're just
Right.
going to run back into that same spot where you're like, okay, like it's like an employee, like you don't know how to do this, okay, you're fired. You don't know how to do this, okay, you're fired. Like,
Right.
no, you need to train and teach people within your organization
Yeah.
how to behave in a certain way. And that's why frame is so
Mhm.
important. In my life, my uh my value system is based upon the character of the person. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much clout you have. If you're an asshole, you're a liar, you're a cheater, or you're doing
Right.
anything deceptive, I want nothing to do with you. You are, I don't care how much money you have. You're a shit person, and I
Right.
despise you. That's my
Right.
belief system, right? And a lot of guys, A, don't have a belief system. They have no frame. And then C, on top of that, they don't enforce it with their girls. They'll be like the most vicious alpha male CEO, but they come home and their girl's like, "Well, that's why you're a loser and you weren't the valedictorian, and your friend was the valedictorian." She knows that's like a weak point of yours, and you're like at home taking this verbal abuse. You're like, "What the fuck? What did I do to deserve this?" But like, like these guys, they don't understand the extreme importance of being leading and guiding and being in control of the relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
No, they don't know or understand that dominance, and just coming up with that, just having that dominance is such a premium nowadays. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just
Yeah.
having that ability to lead. It's like it's such a rare quality now that it just puts you, it's like it puts you in abundance right away. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I don't know how else to explain it other than because like it's funny. This guy asked, I don't know if he was serious or not, but it's like, ever thought about doing a course on bold dating, right? So I don't know if he's
No,
trying to slam on me or not.
that's the same guy who's been making all these accounts. I've
All the
just been
fake ones. All right, right. So, but
he's been
here's the thing though, if that some guys have that real question because they think being bald is limiting them from getting girls. And
right.
it's like, dude, like it's it's not limited me, not even a single, like not even close to it, because I've declined in looks. Like I can look at my image from 10 years ago or something, right? I've declined in looks because of age, you know what I mean? Used to have this, beautiful curly hair, right? Whatever. And it was less old, right? But guess what? I've increased other areas that have made me more attractive, so my looks decline a little bit, but my dominance level and experience,
Right.
boom, went up. And so where I lost some things on being pretty, I gained in dominance. Well, research shows, and women will tell you, a dominant masculine dude who might not be the best looking dude is going to be sexier to her than the
Yeah.
pretty guy. You know what I mean? And so it's not to say the good looking young 20 some 21, 22-year old that looks pretty isn't good looking to girls in his age category. Of course he is. But girls will prefer a guy who looks like they could, protect them in a fight, and kill her if he wants to, at all at the same time. Like they will go for that. That stimulates their hypergamy more than a guy who's got a symmetrical face and good skin or something, right? And so like you just got to understand, like, again, part of it is understanding where the motivation is, where are they seeing the benefit. Do you know what I mean? Like, who cares what girls say about your height, for example, on the internet? Though that's such a vague, it doesn't matter. The girl that's in front of you is seeing a set of benefits and limitations when she looks at you. And if you know what benefits she's looking for, you can capitalize on that and mitigate wherever your shortcomings might be, and it won't matter to her. She's sleeping with you. And then once she's sleeping with you,
Take my money.
she has that neurochemical exchange, if you will, where stimulating her neurochemicals, now her brain's clouded. She's dickmatized, right? We used to say dickmatized. She's dickmatized. What's being dickmatized? Her brain chemistry is making her see you as better or whatever, as different than maybe you are. It doesn't matter. But that's all that matters. A girl will have marriage goggles if you continue to stimulate oxytocin 20 years later. I've seen it, and I've interviewed the elderly couples who think their fucking old guy, husband who can barely fucking walk is like fucking the most alpha guy in the world. You know what I mean? Like I've interviewed those couples before over the years. It's all about those perceptions, and game is playing with those perceptions. Laurent,
Loren,
man.
yeah, thank you so much, John. John and MLD, I think it means Paul and MLD. You guys
Yeah.
are so hot. You are a threat to global warming. How do you build attraction with text game? I typically think you don't build it. There has to be some kind of attraction already there. And the only way you could really build it with text game is just anticipation. But text, nothing beats. Okay, here's your hierarchy of talk about game, what gets women going. Face-to-face communication, then voice communication, and then text is at the very,
The very
very,
bottom.
very, very, very bottom of that.
Yep. Now, as you can still do a lot with text, that is 100% correct. And there's a number of things there. And then if you pay attention to what John just said, very, very important is that some attraction has to be there, right? So what she sees of you or her limited experience of you is who she pictures saying the things over text. So if you have a bunch of really shitty photos, right? And you look like a dork, let's say, on the only thing she can see, a dating app or Instagram, she thinks this dork is saying all the things you're saying in text. It won't work. I'll give you a great example. There was a guy I was working with on dating and texting and stuff. He instructed him as I instructed him, as we all do, right, to go get some pro photos done and to boost up the platform. And then he was getting results on different things, and he was showing me his text, and I was working with him on his game, and I was helping him with what to say. And then he was getting these responses that didn't. I'm like, that doesn't make sense that she's responding that way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, and then so I went, wait a second, let me see your fucking photos. And then he had all these old photos that made him look like a dork. And I went, well, bro, where you look like shit. I'm like, I'm seeing you on a Zoom call. You look pretty good on Zoom. I look at this photo and you look like a nerd. What's going on? And he's like, oh, well, I had professional photos done, but I didn't think it looked like me. I said, let me see the fucking photos. And then he looked awesome in all of his photos. I'm like, dude, we're fixing this right now. Put all those photos right there. Like, it was an inner game thing. He thought, I'm not good enough to be this alpha guy that these photos portray. That's what he thought in his inner game. And so a lot of times, like, what you present for yourself on social media or dating apps, it's actually a reflection of your inner game. You know, if you think that you're low value and you have a shitty photo holding up a fish and looking like your physique doesn't look so good in the photo, like, or whatever, and that's your profile, that guy does not have high self-esteem. Do you know what I mean? A guy who invests in a good, maybe professional photo, he's wearing a nice outfit, maybe even a suit, he looks like a fucking G. That guy thinks highly of himself. That guy thinks he's the guy, right? Guy who looks alpha, right? He thinks he's that way, so he posted those pictures. Well, if you don't think of yourself that way, well, start from the other end then. Just post them anyway. Get feedback from someone who knows. Will tell you if you look like shit or if you look good. You might think, that's not really me. Well, don't listen to yourself because that's half your fucking problem. Go post a good photo yourself. Now, when you do the right response, she thinks, wow, this badass is saying this. Right. And now she responds differently over text. So that's a really good thing to remember. A lot of people forget is foundationally, she has an image of who is sending the message. And if that image is not good or attractive, then, you know, what you say isn't going to resonate as well.
Right.
So that it kind of starts there. There's a lot more you can do once she sees you and thinks you're attractive. And now you're having this exchange, you know?
Yeah. But to think, I think like the illusion of text game, like that you could just text a girl. Now she's like, oh shit, I'm fucking falling in love with you.
Yeah.
Whatever illicit, whatever kind of sexual or stimulating thing you're trying to communicate via text message, you could do 1,000 times better with your phone on the phone call, getting in her ear, right next to her ear, talking to her, your voice, making sure she's paying attention to on top of that, because the reality is very, very, very simple and clear. All right. When you're just letters on a screen, there's far less emotional involvement in it, and way less sexual. I mean, how many movies have you seen a girl and she's like, I fell in love with this guy over text? Like, because even that is like a retarded fucking far-fetched thing. But how many times have you heard of real life girls getting romance scammed and stuff, and a guy, all he did was pick up the phone?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and that's
All
where
he
we look at things. So like looking at things like, good lesson is like Tinder swindler, right? He didn't just text girls. He also had an avatar. He also talked to them over the phone. He also sent voice texts. He also had these little experiences with them, and then he would
Mhm.
leave the experience. So it's this whole
Shut
package.
up and take my money.
So like text fits into the entire game strategy. You got to look at it like that. Now, if your game strategy is solid and she's building fantasy in her head, now that text can be powerful and actually do stuff. But it's not like, oh, if I say the magic words, then she's going to fall in love with me over text. She has to have this built up frame around who you are for that thing you're going to say to make a difference. Do you know what I mean? And I got to be able to do this pretty well back in the day, especially because as a military guy, I often would be geographically separated from women, sometimes not even seeing them first in a first meeting is like when I'm in a new place. And then of course we're banging and doing stuff for a few weeks or months that I'm there and then it's over, right? And so like I had to build fantasy, or if it was a girl that was I'm in some sort of dating or relationship with and I was gone for training, I had to maintain fantasy and maintain that stimulus while I was gone. But I will say it wasn't the magic of what I was texting.
It was
It
you or the
it
magic.
was me. Right.
Yes.
It was me. It was the whole picture around it. Now,
It's
with
the
that, yes, there are
it's
text
the
strategies, but
Yeah, and that's the HR meme. Like the HR meme, "Looking good, Susan." You're like,
yeah.
"Oh, so much looking good, Susan." "Ah, HR,"
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So
So,
you build that fantasy around you and her and what's going on, right? And that's it's a lot of elements to that, not just what you're saying. I mean, another show we could talk about text game and go all over that stuff. But the
yeah,
mistake I think that guys have is that they can be out of like they can have nothing going for them and just they're gonna text a girl the magic words and then she's gonna rip her panties
right,
off, right? Like that's not how it
exactly.
works.
This is
Yeah.
the meme we're talking about here. Like, it all depends. This is how your text message is too. If you're like, "Hey, baby, looking good, Susan," she's like, "Oh, your text message made me so great." And if you're this guy on the left, is like, "Looking good," belly, glasses, kind of a little fat.
Yeah.
"Looking good, Susan." Hello, human resources. It's
Yeah.
just it's very who is the guy sending the text? Who is the one communicating? This stuff
Right.
here is incredibly important. You know, I
Oh,
really want to catch up with some of these super chats. $5 super chat. This is why I love both your content. You're both positive, not doom and gloom, and give practical solutions and insights into problems. Hashtag not grifters. Thank you so much. And then Wraith gave $2 super chat. I trolled long enough. Good show, guys. Thanks, Pops. We love you.
yeah, you're the man, right?
He is the man. But look, ultimately, you're going to need game in this life if you want to get what you want. What scares me a little bit, Paul, because now I've been doing this. I've been live streaming and heavily in communities for 7 years now, and
Mhm.
I've seen guys get into my coaching, get into these relationships with girls, hot girls, fucking in their frame, amazing chicks. They love their boyfriends. They get married, they have kids. I've seen that happen so many times again and again and again. And the other side though is that I see, and this shit terrifies me personally. This is like I don't have to worry about this, but just ending up alone is a real big terrifying, sexless, broken.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Interesting.
And how many guys do you think are actually heading towards that right now?
Oh man, I think a lot of guys definitely, probably 1/3 of guys at least by statistics, because 1/3 of guys are incels. So, I mean, 1/3 of guys are actually living that. The interesting thing is like having I have no fear of that at all. And I'm not trying to say that like being tough guy or something. It's just something that I came to terms with a long time ago. Like I just, I mean, I just worked on coming to terms with that idea. And when I did come to terms with that idea, add that to game and social calibration, I have no fear in my relationships. So now, right? Because now, if I'm not afraid of being alone, then I'm not afraid to dump somebody if they're fucking up. I'm right. Like I'm not afraid. And then it's like, now it's like I have this power. You know what I mean? Because I don't ever have to let loose on my standards, really. You know what I mean? And of course, it doesn't mean like, for example, my girlfriend, obviously I love her and I'm going to work on things with her. But if she crossed a boundary that we couldn't come back from, or if she was a refusal to follow my frame and to do our relationship in the way that I know we need to do it in order to be successful, I'm going to leave the relationship. And she knows it. She knows it. And she's very beautiful, but it doesn't matter. And as soon as you have that, that's sort of the fucking magic sauce for creating that sense of value that a girl can't really put her finger on. That dread is just there. She knows that you're strong enough to be your own man no matter what, which is different than fearing alone, right? Just being strong enough to be your own man is there, but when when you're not afraid about being alone, like when you feel like being alone's okay, like I'm okay with that. And maybe it's just from different military experiences where I had to go long periods of time alone. Maybe I'm not really sure. I know it's something I faced a long time ago, but for some reason I got that out of my system. And I think that really helped me, and I can't put my finger on it. I know that in my inner game course, for example, the one I just launched with Psychopath's Playbook, I talk about 8 existential fears. One of those fears is ostracization, isolation, being alone. And it's good to face all of these fears: death, isolation, helplessness. There's 8 of them, right? Like it's good to face them in meditation and get your head wrapped around it and to get comfortable with it, because every one of us is going to go through all 8 of those fears at some point. It may not be permanent, but we're all going to do it. We're all going to have periods of being alone. We're all going to die. We're all going to have a time of being helpless. The day of and the next day after my surgery of getting the hernia surgery, I mean, like that would have been a time to kick my ass. You know what I mean? Like I was pretty helpless then, can't lift more than 5 pounds, because of the surgery, right? I mean, we all have that. We're all going to we're all human beings. We'll all go through those periods. The fucking inner game part is to get comfortable with, I can live with this if it happens. I'm not afraid of it. It's not like you want it. You know what I mean? You're not like going for it, but just knowing that if this happens, I'm not going to fear it. And if you can get there, you got a lot of power in your life, and especially the isolation part. If you can get there with women, you won't stick with a woman who isn't going to serve you or isn't, you know what I mean? You won't do that. You won't feel that compelled to do that. I think it's a good thing for people to work on. And anyway, at any rate, you have your shit together pretty well with that. You're not going to like let some girl have whatever, but I mean, that back of the mind fear is a good thing to kind of work on. You know what I mean?
Well, another thing I've realized too is like with us, living the ways that we live, man, really like what we have is like the skill that we have, which is the ability to clearly see what a woman's all about and if she's interested in you or not, and B, the ability to go catch a woman and seduce her and domesticate her, quite frankly. I mean, that is like is a better skill than being a multimillionaire with no game, because then you're just like you're just a slave. You're literally a slave. Like you're hoping, everything is hope and luck. You're hoping you meet a decent girl. You're hoping she likes you, not for the millions. You're hoping she's cheating on you. You're hoping that you have the ability to determine all these things within your wherewithal, like relationship problems and all of that stuff. Huh, man, I just thank God I do not have to deal with this at all. At
Yeah.
all, at all. I thank God that I'm free and I have the ability and that I have, amazing fucking chick in my life. Yes, just this chick is fucking amazing, 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 And
Yeah, that's great.
life is fucking good, man. I think like my lucky stars every day, man, because man, those guys struggling with relationship turmoil, that is like seriously some of the worst shit you can go through. I've been in a relationship when I was dating a chick where like I was like laying down in the bed and like
Mhm.
I felt like I was alone even though I'm with her. Like
Oh,
she's
yeah.
there next
Me
to me,
too.
but I'm like I
Mhm.
just feel alone. I feel like I hate this shit. I don't want to be here.
Yeah, it's
And
like debilitating. It like fucks your whole life up. And it's like
dude,
we try to be, guys try to be tough guys about this and be like, well, like it's like it's not a big deal or whatever with girls. But reality is, okay, I've been to a lot of funerals with military service, right? I've been to a lot of funerals for guys who lost the battle after the deployment, if you know what I'm saying. So they
mm,
self-selected or they drug overdosed themselves to a funeral.
mhm.
And in every case, I mean, every single one, there was a broken relationship or girl behind it.
Shut
Not
up
saying
and
it was,
take my money.
I'm
Mhm.
not saying it was the girl's fault, of course, but that was either the final straw or the single straw. And that guy was taking himself out of the gene pool in one way or the other. So it's a very, very serious thing. When we go through all of these, the male, we won't say it for YouTube, but take your own life epidemic, right? That epidemic is driven by relationship failure, 100%. I mean, I 100% believe that. And that
Yeah.
goes down to that existential threat of not being able to mate and all that. And there's a whole rabbit hole we can get in on that if another time. But that is just, it's a severe thing. So guys not being able to handle this area of their life, they're doing themselves the biggest disservice they could probably ever do, really, because you could have everything else and this will ruin your life. This one thing right here. You could
And it will
actually be, what's that?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say it will ruin your life in the worst possible way.
In the worst possible way. You
You
could run
will
through health problems and still have a decent life. You could run through financial problems, still have a decent life, pull yourself out of it. This thing right here will cripple everything. All the work you're doing everywhere else, you will cripple yourself with relationship girl problems or lack of access because that creates a whole nother maladaptive set of behaviors and problems that people now have to solve because they can't have access to women, right? And so like those two things are like destroying men. 100, no access to women or getting into bad relationships and not knowing how to handle relationships. Those are
Yeah.
the two things killing people, really.
Scott here recently got with me because he was actually dating and with a diagnosed borderline personality disorder chick. Scott right here on the
Oh,
screen.
that's fun, Scott. That was a
Yeah,
nice roller coaster, huh?
yeah, I've been coaching him through it. Scott is a great guy,
Good.
super smart. He's doing upper six figs. Smart guy. Really intelligent, really driven, but like he was just dragging this dead weight along. And this is his question, and I think
Yeah.
it's related to her. Are there women who are undateable slash unmarriageable, or is it all
Yes, dude.
that the woman is with?
100%. This
Yeah.
is a mistake. All right, let me tell you like my evolution here because where I fucked up bad years ago. I got my game really, really good to a point where I was egotistical about it. I thought my game is so good that it doesn't matter what the girl's got going on. I'm just going to get her to do what I want.
Yeah.
And that it couldn't be the biggest lie that I told myself because you cannot out game mental disorder. Okay. There's a capability that's there. And part of what makes your game more elevated is knowing to recognize capability and knowing to recognize when she's not capable. And so
Yes.
I was in the dating market.
Paul, I think that slips over some people's heads. I really need you to this really, that's something that you taught me. The capability, because in America, in Western culture, everybody thinks, oh, that's a woman. She's perfect. She could do everything. So God, like, it must be the guy's fault. Clearly it's this idiot over here, but the capability, and most women are modern women, Western world, mainly America. Most of these women currently in the United States of America and in the West are very incapable of even behaving in a way that is conducive to a successful relationship. They're
100%.
actually behaving in a way that is conducive to the destruction of the relationship.
100%. This is the whole thing about history and notch count and all that stuff. It's like, it's not because like I care too much about a girl's like notch count, whatever. Like, I know if she is desiring me and I have enough sexual experiences with her, it doesn't matter. Like, she's going to see me as the best guy she's banging ever. So it doesn't matter if it's that, you know what I mean? I'm not worried about that part. Or we break up and I find another girl who thinks that, right? It's not a big deal. But the big deal is all these past experiences have conditioned poor behaviors and poor patterns of behaviors and poor coping mechanisms and trauma and all kinds of problems that now they bring to your doorstep and say, okay, like, let's be in a relationship. She's not capable of it unless she works through all those things. And how many girls do you guys know listening to this right now? How many girls do you guys know are really working on themselves? And we're really working on fixing those past problems. They don't do it. Some girls do, but most do not do it because they're told they're amazing by simps, right? So like, they have 10 simps right around the corner to tell them how great they are. So they don't fix shit. They just accumulate problems.
And they're 10 simps, and then also their female friend group, who is probably the source of like
is messed up.
the worst amount of fucking information they could give them. But the thing is too, miserable chicks, they're so miserable that they're so outwardly emotive and giving advice to everybody, and they're just ruining everybody around them.
Yep. 100%. And you can always get like good game can always get a girl to do stuff in the first 3 months or the first 6 months. Do you know what I mean? Good game. You can be with a borderline personality disorder and have an amazing love bombing phase, right? But that is going to implode and go nowhere else but into sheer destruction unless you get out of it. The only way to win is to not play that game, right?
Yes.
To use what is that? What was it? War games back in like 1980s. The only way to win is not to play. That is your answer for girls who are not capable, because you're not going to game her away from it or out of it. She's either capable of fixing herself and working on herself and transforming to be a good, long-term companion, or she's not. Right. And so you're in a process of figuring that out. That's what makes your game elevated, isn't getting her to do what you want or getting her to like you. That's only one level. The next level is being able to discover quickly whether or not she's a good match and whether or not she's capable of being in a relationship with you, and discovering that early before you're too emotionally invested and before you start giving away commitments and entanglements and all that stuff, And so, that's a learning experience.
Take my money.
Yep. That's a learning experience. Your friend, what was his name there? Scott is just having that Scott, I'm stupid, Scott. I had to have that learning experience twice, not just once. My friend, I had to do it twice. I had to go with personality disordered, like a relationship that was serious with a personality disorder. I did it twice because I'm dumb. So we all make that mistake, but you got to get out of it. Yeah, you got to get out of it. And anyway, but and guys who are going through that too, just to sort of plug it because it's free, my community is free. You should be in John's Telegram chat as well. But in my community, I have a free course for recovering for a breakup. I have that there because it's the biggest thing that stops guys up from getting any better. They get stuck on some breakup, some situation. So it's like, I'm just going to give away that information. And it's actually very good. Have it for free if you're struggling. I'd rather have you take that course than end up sucking on a barrel or something. You know what I mean? So I just want to kind of point that out to any guys going through that.
Good stuff. Well, look, I think that was a great inaugural episode, guys. Welcome to the Game Room, episode 1. What is game? Paul and I are just going to have these long, deep, thoughtful conversations every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We noticed that like the kind of the Rule Zero, the Red Man Group has been kind of, dissipated or just doesn't exist or sucks now. And so we wanted to make a podcast where we only talk about game. We only talk with guys on this podcast who have women that are listening to them in their frame. We're leading by example, and that's the whole purpose of the show.
Shut up and take my
money. I personally
money.
didn't like how this whole place is like, now it's like, oh, it's clavicular, it's looks maxing, it's all this stuff. Like, you want to talk about a guy riddled with inner game issues that's going to collapse very badly. It's this clavicular kid. Okay,
Yeah,
no offense.
He really should call me up. Just saying. I don't know. Just saying. Because these influencers, man, it's like looking down the abyss, right? Like he's a young guy who's got so much clout right now. Well, that starts to control you. Like having that level of celebrity sort of access makes it really, really hard for a person to know who they are and all that. So he God bless him. Like I said, my shit's available. I won't tell anyone you called me, buddy. just make the fucking call. I might not even charge you money.
Double Talk 84, 199. MLD Paul, what are your 3 books for men? That's for me, it's so hard because it's 3 books is a lot. Compound Effect.
No way. I was gonna say that one.
Yeah,
I love it. I love that one. Yeah, that's fucking. That was my number 1 too. Nice.
The Compound Effect. I know he's like controversial and a lot of people may not like him, but for me, Grant Cardone wrote a book that was like, what was it called? It was basically like Average is the Enemy of Great or something. Fuck, what was it called? Hold on 2 seconds. I will tell you the name of the book. Something or Be Average. Be Obsessed or Be Average, I believe, is the name of the book by Grant Cardone. Really good book. Really a good book about grit. And then Relentless by Tim Grover.
Relentless is a good one.
Yeah, he was the former basketball and health trainer, physical fitness trainer for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And he was able to see that, really great stuff. Paul, what about you?
I like those. I mean, I'm bad with books because I read so many of them. I can't really pick a favorite. I know I really should get better at that. And like, you know what I mean? But like, what's good? I mean, we have the basic, like Red Pill reading list is good too. If you guys are struggling to learn about the sexual marketplace, like, like reading, what was his name? Fucking, now I'm gonna, you know what? Let me one opportunity. I do want this opportunity. Gatekeeper by Sean Smith. Gatekeeper by Sean T. Smith. He did the Tactical Guide to Women, which is good. Get Gatekeeper though. Gatekeeper to me, I thought is very underrated. I think it's a very, very good book that he did there. I recommend that all the time to guys is Gatekeeper. Rational Male series is good. First couple of books. If you don't know anything about Evo Psych and if you're just not sure about the sexual marketplace and you have lots of magical ideas, I mean, Rollo has really good essays and he has good stuff there. And then Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy, guys who struggle with boundaries. I wouldn't do Glover's like How to Date Women stuff book. It's not very good in my opinion, but I do like his No More Mr. Nice Guy. That was pretty decent. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are some good ones. Ranger Handbook.
Well, here's the thing, guys. We are going to be doing this show every week. We are looking to really make it happen in 2026 with the show. We're going to have more guests on, and we're going to continue to building. If you know somebody that you'd like us to be on, leave a comment in the description box below, or description area below. Leave a comment and tell us who you want to be on. Send me an email. And if you need any of our coaching help, check the description box in either of our channels. And yeah, that'll be it. So until then, we'll catch you guys next time and see you next week on the Game Room. Peace out.